Before they became a warning, before they became fire in the memory of the world, Sodom and Gomorrah were remembered as cities standing at the edge of a strange and dangerous landscape. Their names survived for thousands of years, but the places behind those names disappeared into salt, stone, ash, and debate. The question is not only whether the cities existed exactly as tradition remembers them. The deeper mystery is why this region produced a memory so powerful that it still feels alive. In biblical tradition, Sodom and Gomorrah belonged to the cities of the plain, a fertile world imagined beside one of the harshest environments on earth. That contrast is the first key to the mystery. Abundance beside desolation, city walls beside salt, human confidence beside a landscape that could turn deadly without warning. To understand the story, we have to begin with the Dead Sea itself, a body of water so dense, silent, and extreme that it feels less like a lake than a boundary. The land around it sits in the Jordan Rift Valley, shaped by heat, minerals, earthquakes, bitumen, salt, and the slow violence of geology. This was never an ordinary setting for an ancient memory. The ground itself seemed unstable, rich, dangerous, and strangely alive. Ancient travelers would have known this region for its resources, its routes, and its risks. It stood between trade, survival, and catastrophe. The biblical image is unforgettable. Cities judged, fire falling, and smoke rising from the plain like the smoke of a furnace. But a serious documentary must move carefully. The story is ancient, the evidence is debated, and the line between sacred memory and recoverable history is not always clear. No inscription has been found that clearly says, "Here stood Sodom," or "Here stood Gomorrah." What remains are landscapes, candidate sites, clues, and competing interpretations. Some traditions and researchers have looked toward the southern Dead Sea, where sites such as Bab Edra and Namera have drawn attention for destruction layers, cemeteries, and proximity to the Salt Basin. Others argue for a northern location, especially the Great Mound of Tal El Hammam in the Jordan Valley, a site that has become famous and controversial. The debate matters because Sodom is not only a location. It is a memory of a city that became a symbol, and symbols are rarely easy to excavate. If the cities were real urban centers, they would have depended on water, trade, storage, walls, and the fragile balance that kept desert life alive. Their gates would have been more than entrances. In the ancient Near East, city gates could serve as places of judgment, negotiation, protection, and public life. Inside the walls, life would have been ordinary before it became legendary. Ovens, courtyards, storage rooms, oil lamps, and families beneath a desert sky. That is what makes the story unsettling. Catastrophe is remembered most intensely when it falls on a world that once felt permanent. The Bible presents the destruction as moral judgment. History asks a parallel question. Could a natural disaster have entered sacred tradition as a warning? Earthquakes are part of the region's deep history. Some geological explanations have proposed that tremors, gases, bitumen, and fire could have shaped memories of sudden destruction. Bitumen was known around the Dead Sea. Ancient writers describe dark, tar-like material connected with these waters, a resource, but also a sign of a strange and volatile landscape. Salt, sulfurous smells, heat, tremors, and abrupt ruin could all feed the memory of a place remembered as cursed by fire. At several sites near the Dead Sea, archaeologists have found signs of burning, collapse, or abandonment. But linking any one layer to a specific biblical city remains difficult. This is where the story becomes powerful. Archaeology can uncover burned walls, but it cannot always recover the name people gave to fear. Tal El Hammam has become famous because some researchers propose that a catastrophic event destroyed it in the Middle Bronze Age. Other scholars remain cautious, critical, or unconvinced. The most dramatic claims about a cosmic airburst remain disputed. Responsible storytelling has to treat them as controversial, not settled truth. Still, the fascination remains because the region itself seems built for catastrophe. Fault lines beneath, mineral wealth around, and settlements balanced between water and desert. Sodom and Gomorrah became more than ruins because they carried a moral charge. Their destruction was remembered as the collapse of both city and soul. In the story, the crisis is not only geological. It is ethical. The cities become a mirror held up to arrogance, violence, and the failure of hospitality. That is why the cities endured in memory. They were not remembered as ordinary settlements that burned. They were remembered as places where civilization failed. But what would they have looked like before the fall? Not marble temples or imperial avenues, but mud brick, courtyards, defensive walls, and streets shaped by heat. Their wealth, if they had it, would have come from control, water, roads, herds, fields, minerals, and access to the moving world beyond the valley. In a fragile land, prosperity could become confidence, and confidence could become blindness. A city that survived the desert might begin to believe it could survive anything. Then comes the image that changed everything. Fire from above, the plain overturned, and a landscape left silent. For ancient listeners, that image did not need coordinates. It needed meaning. The cities became a geography of warning. Later generations preserved the memory in maps, sermons, texts, and pilgrim imagination. Sodom became less a city to visit than a place to fear. The Dead Sea helped preserve that fear. Its shores look otherworldly: white salt, black stone, water hostile to ordinary life, and cliffs that hold the sun like fire. Even without certainty, the landscape seems to collaborate with the legend. It makes destruction feel believable, and yet the responsible answer remains complex. Sodom and Gomorrah may be memories of real places, real disasters, moral tradition, or all of these fused together. That fusion may be exactly why the story survived. It was not only about what happened, it was about what people believed the disaster revealed. A city can fall in a day, but a warning can last for millennia. The destruction also shaped how later cultures imagined divine justice, not as an abstract idea, but as a place one could point toward across the desert. In this way, geography became theology. Salt became memory. Ruins became evidence for the imagination. But the cities should not be reduced to the moment of their destruction. Before judgment, there was life. Before ash, there was architecture. There were hands that built walls, families that stored grain, traders who crossed the plain, and rulers who believed their gates would stand. The most haunting ruins are not the ones that look dead. They are the ones where daily life can still be imagined. That is the emotional force behind Sodom and Gomorrah, not only punishment, but disappearance. An entire world turned into a question. When researchers enter these landscapes, they are not simply searching for ruins. They are searching for the boundary between event and meaning. A burned layer can be measured, a wall can be dated, a jar can be cataloged, but the fear of a city erased by fire belongs to a different kind of record. It belongs to story, memory, warning, and the human need to explain why disaster chooses one place and not another. Perhaps this is why Sodom and Gomorrah never vanished completely. Their ruins may be debated, but their warning became impossible to bury. The cities became a lens through which later people saw corruption, collapse, and the terrifying speed with which a society can lose its place in the world. That is the visual power of the story: a vanished urban world, a dead sea, salt like bone, ruins like questions, and fire remembered through faith. The viewer is left between two worlds: the world of archaeology, which demands evidence, and the world of tradition, which preserves meaning. Between those worlds, Sodom and Gomorrah remain suspended, part city, part symbol, part scar on the ancient imagination. Maybe the final mystery is not only where the cities stood, it is why humanity needed them to stand for something. A lost city is powerful because it tells us that stone can fall, wealth can vanish, and memory can outlive every wall. Sodom and Gomorrah may never give up all their secrets, but the landscape around the Dead Sea still carries the shape of the warning. And perhaps that is why, after thousands of years, we still look toward the salt, the ruins, and the fire, and wonder what really happened there.